What's going on, everybody? Happy Monday. Talking hoops, talking NBA. We got 11 game slate today. Got a big one. Was just talking MLB before this with DC, talking some underdog MLB. Mangone's on here. AP's on here. You guys know I got to go to first, though. AP, no Chiefs hat, no Chiefs gear. I was expecting something. You guys get it done. Congrats to you again. Probably be saying that a lot more. Said it a lot already, but they do it again, AP.
Yeah, I mean, what a game. I will admit, I mean, that final play, it definitely wasn't good. None of us wanted to see it go down like that, but I can't let that one thing take away from how good of a game that was just from both sides. And my take was wrong. I thought the Chiefs were going to be able to slow down Jalen Hurts. I did. I played 50% Chiefs defense. I went heavy on that script. I went all KC in the captain, and I was underweight on Hurts, and that obviously hurt my feelings. And he owned me. He did. He was incredible. Jalen Hurts was awesome, freaking awesome. Mahomes was awesome. The game was great. Bad luck, bad luck for Philly at the end there, but I mean, it was an awesome game. What else can we say, Title?
No, it was an awesome game. I mean, I was on the Eagles a little bit, I was on the Eagles. I was thankful you didn't slide in. I hardly had any money on it. But at the end of the day, even as an Eagles backer, such a close game, could have went either way. You want to be holding dog money at that point. So I think Chiefs were the sharp side. They get it done for AP.
I pulled a DC, which was nice. So I hammered the live money line at halftime. So Kurt responded and he helped me get it in. So you love to see it.
Shout out Kurt. Mango, what were your thoughts on that game? Thoughts on today's NBA slate? What's up, man?
Yeah, I mean, it was a fun Super Bowl. I'm in the camp of dude, I don't know. Yes, the ending wasn't what you wanted, but he did grab him, right? I mean, he admitted it. So if you're gonna admit it, and take the accountability, I mean, what can you do? Yes, we wanted a better ending, but it was a great game overall. So I enjoyed it. I didn't actually have a ton of action on it because I didn't have huge conviction on which side it was going to be, and I was fine with that. I had higher convictions on the other parts of the playoffs, so I was perfectly fine with kind of just playing my DFS stuff. I was profitable DFS wise, so can't complain. On to the next one. So now we got a nice NBA slate, nice NBA prize pools today, which I can't wait for. PGA was good to me yesterday too. I always like the Waste Management Open. That's one of my better PGA DFS events over the years. So happy about that, and happy for the golf season to start kind of getting through, because NFL has ended, right? Now we start getting to the point of year where it's NBA, golf, then MLB will start trickling in after March Madness. So it's just a change of season, and I'm excited for it.
I missed it. I wasn't on Twitter, wasn't on my phone much this weekend. What you turn what profit or what dollar amount into what dollar amount in the PGA streets? Because Pete plays said, Mangone, nice week in PGA. What did I miss?
Yeah, I tweeted it, right as the Super Bowl was starting, because it was maybe not the best timing, but I've been messing with the MME process, and I feel like I've dialed things in a lot better. I've just turned that $5 GBP, right? It's a great GBP that they have in the PGA streets. One to help if you want to kind of get better at MME, just like the $4 in NBA, I think is normally a great one to kind of dial in your MME process for sure. And it's a 20 max. This one's 150 max. I turned, $100 into 6K or something like that.
There you go.
Yeah, it was pretty solid.
You got a squad way up there, man. Going.
What?
How many? You only ran 20 builds in that?
Yeah, I just ran 20. I've really been trying to, like I said, you don't have to put 150 in to dial in a process, right?
Yeah.
You can join 20 max stuff. Now, there's not as many 20 max things in PGA, but I want to do it with less, so I have a smaller pool. Also, people like to say if you play 150 lineups, you can't lose. Trust me, you can burn money playing 150 lineups. I've been there playing 150 and it goes really poorly, and I just want to make my process better. I want to see how the results are going overall, and I feel like I've really ironed it out, where instead of it being so many I don't know, Ted, if you've had me before, obviously a ton. Sometimes you have just too many entries over here at the end, and then sometimes you have too many at the top, and you want to have it more dialed in where you don't lose as much throughout, and then you kind of have spiked performances. And I feel like I've really dialed that in with my process, and hopefully I can do that again here this coming up week. And you don't have to then just, out of nowhere push 150 the next week, right? You could slowly build it up. And I'm more of a single entry 3 max player. It's what my bread and butter has been. It's where I've kind of honed in on process, but I want to become a better MMA player. We can all get better. And that's one way to kind of go about doing it.
Yeah, and you've been crushing that, talking stuff like that in your article. SaberSim has really helped man going. Yeah, I mean, you can't lose when you're 150. I just did it all weekend. Every 150 I put in, I came out negative. So you can definitely do that.
We gotta. I mean, why was it a good game? High scoring don't equal a good game. I mean, did you guys not think it was a good game? It was constant action, back and forth scoring. Like everyone was live to win. You had to, come from behind victory. Yeah. We could talk all day.
You had defensive plays, right? You had defensive stops. You had passing touchdowns, rushing touchdowns. I mean, so I want to hear the counterpoint from the guy in chat that doesn't think it was a good game. What would have made it a good game? Like,
he needs to watch more Thursday night games during the regular season.
He won a, like LSU and Alabama, I think like 10 plus years ago had like a 6-3 national title game. Like, is that the kind of game you want to watch? Like hard-nosed defense going back and forth. I agree. You don't want too much scoring, but there were defensive plays made. There were defensive stops by the Eagles because the Chiefs weren't on the field all the time. So overall, I do think it was a pretty fun game to watch. But that's just my opinion.
Yeah, I thought so too. Last comment before we get talking into hoops. People asking me about MMA. B-Boz, what are your thoughts on MMA? Parker Porter blows William. It was a great main event. It really was. I mean, it was one of the few times the loser of the fight gained more respect and more stock than the winner did. And Volk, he proved that he was pound for pound number one, no doubt. Came up 10 pounds. Islam hardly even makes 155. Man, Volk showed the strength. His wrestling was there. It was a really good fight. I did think Islam won 48-47. It's judged by rounds, but it was a close fight. No robbery either way. It was a great fight, though. And Volk's next fight against Yair at 145 will be amazing, too. So that's MMA talk. We talked NFL. We got 11 games to talk through, though, today. A lot going on. So we'll go game by game. All we ask from you is a like button, big red subscribe button. We appreciate it. We'll get you the plays of the day at the end. First game of the night, 7 p.m. Eastern, Atlanta Hawks, Charlotte Hornets, 241 total. Atlanta is favored by 5.5. Bogdan Bogdanovic is questionable. John Collins is questionable. And then Sadiq Bey will be playing today for the Hawks. On Charlotte, Oubre still out, Cody Martin out, so nothing big there. AP, I'll start with you. 7 p.m. We have 4 7 p.m. games. A lot of games start pretty early tonight, so we are waiting on news. We should get a lot of it before this time, though, but is this a game stack you're looking at?
Yeah, so, I mean, we got a 240 total here. Charlotte's still giving up really nice numbers to opposing bigs. And the thing about Charlotte, too, is we got Mark Williams, who the price is just not high enough. So, I mean, DraftKings adjusted a little bit, but 4K for Mark Williams in this spot, he's going to project as a very strong play. And you can even go to Nick Richards off the bench. So those two, I think it's going to be kind of a flip-flop every now and then who gets the extended run. Foul issues are going to come into play. But I'm gonna always side with the starter as long as the price isn't too egregious. And Mark Williams, 4K, really strong price tag there. And then on the Hawks side, the best way to attack this Hornets team, definitely with Clint Capella, 5.9K, decent tag there. The problem with Capella is you're probably not going to get 30 minutes. He's always right between 24 to 28-ish minutes with Okongwu, picking up off the bench, getting about 18 to 24, depending on how the game's flowing. So I wouldn't say like Capella is an absolute smash play. There's going to be a lot of really good, a lot of strong center plays on the slate, but I do think he's a really good tournament play just because we've seen how centers can crush this Hornets team. And then the backcourts here are fine too. It's going to be a high-paced game. Trae Young, even with DeJounte out there, Trae Young should always be kind of in your tournament pool. His upside is insane. We've seen it the last few games. And then on the other side too, you got LaMelo Ball, who's in a nice spot as well, 10.4K. So really nice spot. I mean, the guy that's going to be chalk here is probably Mark Williams, maybe Gordon Hayward too, just because of the rotation and price. I'm going to have exposure to this game. I'm going to mix and match. I'm going to make sure I get one Capella build, and I'm not fading Mark Williams, so that's how I'm attacking this game.
Yeah, 11-game slate. This is the first one of the night. It has the highest total of the slate, though. But outside of Mark Williams, who definitely will be chalk, doesn't look like this game will get too much ownership. Mangone, talk Mark Williams, chalk, talk Capella. What you like in this one?
Yeah. So one thing I'll say is when I make my threads title, which I did one today, I'm always scared to put like some players on it. And like Mark Williams, I was like, I can't even put it on because I don't want to fade him. I'm not telling people to fade him, but he is the chalkiest center on the slate for good reason, right? He's 4K. Not saying you should fade him. Definitely think about how you play him, right? Like that's one thing that I like to note with these very chalky options. Like AP said, he's just underpriced. So when I play him, I'm going to think about.
I'll interrupt just really quick. I assume of 418 people, 400 know, but Mason Plumlee was traded. So now Mark Williams is the starter, and it's a whole different situation. So had the trade deadline last week. I assume most people know, but that's why we're talking about Mark Williams so much. Starting, no Plumlee in the situation.
Yeah, and he's been crushing. To be fair, though, just like to call this out, I think Mark Williams, really good play. But center is a loaded position overall. And if you look, Mark Williams the other day, it was the day he had 32.5 DK points when I think we played against Boston. I don't think that was on the winner because Zach Collins and Durant absolutely smashed against each other. There are good plays. You can get away from the Mark Williams fade. Not saying you should fade him on all your teams, but like in single entry, you can find like Clint Capella and Walker Kessler. Are you telling me that Clint Capella, who's, a great play in this spot, and Walker Kessler, are you telling me they can't be better plays than Mark Williams at center? They can be. Just know that center is absolutely loaded. Mark Williams is a good play. I will have exposure to him. He'll be on some of my teams overall. If you look at LaMelo Ball, right, this is one of those matchups where you can make a pretty good case for him. You can make a pretty good case for Gordon Hayward. A lot of these Charlotte guys are going to naturally pop today just because anyone who plays Atlanta gets ownership, you get exposure to them. The prices are not bad. So they're all interesting plays. For me, though, I don't know if I want to spend my salary in that way. I think on Charlotte, it's really focusing on Mark Williams right now. And then on the Atlanta side, really want to focus on Clint Capella in a pretty good matchup. I think he's a good option. If you want to use Trae Young as a spend-up point guard, you could. But again, I think I'm going to try and find other options too. The two chalky studs today are Damian Lillard and Jimmy Butler. I think they're both really good plays. We'll discuss them later on. But I want to look for some contrarian pivots. And you could make a case that LaMelo Ball and Trae Young could be interesting contrarian pivots because they're in great game environments. The downside is Atlanta's loaded with a lot of players, so that obviously can hurt his floor. And LaMelo Ball, yes, it's a great matchup. I believe he's on the flow chart as well, but his downside always can be brutal. And I'll admit, there's a little bit of bias for me with LaMelo Ball. I typically don't gravitate towards him as a stud, and I try to look for some other options. But overall, there are some really good plays in this game. The two best plays are Mark Williams, though, and Clint Capella. They'll be focused on a lot of different people's teams. One group you could do to really get different right away is group those two players away from each other. Or if you really want, play them together. If you get that like game where just the Yahtzee hits, right? You get Durant and Collins the other day, get all that overtime, you'll get some massive scores if those guys play a lot.
Yeah, no, someone was asking about LaMelo. I totally get what Mangone is saying. I definitely feel the same about LaMelo. His floor is a lot lower than a normal 10.4K player. He's a lot shooting reliant, but his ceiling is definitely there, and we know that. And I mean, what if you get first or if you get mid cash or you just miss out on cash? I mean, you're playing for first place. LaMelo, I'm seeing 10%. I think Trae, throw him in the same boat. Trae or LaMelo in this game. Highest total of the night, I think, is contrarian spends. Makes some sense. Mark Williams, though, outside of him, I don't really see much ownership going to this game. So definitely could be an interesting one. We have 4 games at 7. That is the first one. Someone in chat mentioned double center night. I think that'll be a pretty popular route. I think there's a lot of good centers with Mark Williams being the most popular in one spot. And
it's a double center night because Mark Williams is just the best value on the board, right? He is no doubt the best value. And because of that, there's other good centers too that people want to play. And so it will be a double center night for the most part. Not saying that you shouldn't do that, but that is the one reason why it's being pushed on a lot of teams for sure. That's why I'm saying you could still go double center to be different, right? Like I said, if you play Capella and Walker Kessler, I mean, they're both good plays and ways that you could be different with it. But then you got to deal with the Mark Williams fade. And maybe if you decide to fade that, maybe you go to like a PJ Washington as a pivot and the game goes a bit smaller. There's a ton of different ways that you can kind of go about it. There's good plays in this game, but I am going to think about how I play them for sure. That's definitely one of the key points I think to bring up here.
Yeah, last thing to note is you can just go the direct pivot right from Mark Williams. Just go Nick Richards, foul trouble. Nick Richards plays better, something like that. Mark Williams bust, the backup gets there. But, yeah, we're talking double centers. The next game on the slate, Mangone already mentioned the name. Walker Kessler, Utah Jazz, Indiana Pacers, 238 total. Utah is favored by 1. Utah, so they traded Conley, they traded Malik Beasley. They're still without Russell Westbrook. So Utah looks pretty popular. As far as Indy, Tyrese Halliburton, Miles Turner, both questionable. Those guys miss. This looks like the most popular game stack by a mile. AP, I'll start with you. I mean, we're talking centers. Walker Kessler will be pretty popular. Horton Tucker, Sexton, Olynyk. I mean, these Utah guys are pretty thin with this trade right now, so they'll be getting a lot of ownership. Chalk Utah, how is that going to go? Talk about if-then scenarios with Miles Turner and Tyrese.
Yeah, Walker Kessler, I mean, he gets the second best matchup on the slate for bigs per the flow chart. 5.6K price tag is really nice. And I like him to get a double-double tonight. And I think he racks up a couple blocks, something that is easy to do against this Pacers team. So, again, like we're going to talk through the slate. And like Mangone said, there's going to be so many good center options. That's why I'm not like locking in Mark Williams. I'm going to have a bunch of them, but there's so many different routes that you can go, especially ways that you can get very contrarian. So Walker Kessler, definitely going to be in my player pool tonight, someone that I have exposure to. And then Jordan Clarkson, he played almost 40 minutes against the Knicks. You got to love the rotation there. Took 23 shots. His usage was really nice, over 30%. Not like the strongest peripheral guy, but he's going to have to do a lot of ball handling here. You could make the case to play him and Colin Sexton. Sexton's going to be the more popular. Sexton got 30 minutes with Clarkson in there. So Sexton 5.2K though, going to be another nice value that grades up pretty well. And then Talon Horton Tucker. I mean, those are going to be the core guys that are popping in your projections in your optimizer. Horton Tucker, Colin Sexton, and then Walker Kessler as well. I think all of these guys are in play. I think you could make a case for any of the 5 starters here, from Sexton down to Kessler, Lauri Markkanen, especially on FanDuel. The price, I mean, just go look at the price on DraftKings and then go look at it on FanDuel. Just a massive price difference there. So
9-1 and 7-6 to be exact.
Yeah, I mean, on FanDuel, I mean, you're going to get a really chalky Lauri Markkanen. But look, almost a 240 total, 238 total. So, you know, a bucket away from 240.
If you play both sides, I'll just add quick. I like playing him on DraftKings and fading him on FanDuel because that 9-1, he still gets a ceiling game. I mean, he can still be on the optimal easily. Whereas on FanDuel, if he busts, you'll bury a lot more of the field. I mean, he could be 45% in that $5.55 they got or something. So just something to look at if you're playing on both sides.
Yeah. Yep. No, I agree. So, and then Talon Horton Tucker, I mean, he's going to get you 23 to 28 minutes off the bench. And he's another guy that running the second unit, his usage has been awesome. So I love the Jazz side of this game. We just need them to keep it close. And then I think Halliburton, so he's another flowchart play. We can attack the Jazz with opposing guards. Halliburton's going to fly under the radar. No one's going to play him on the slate because when you pull up the box score, it does not look good at all. 44, 31, 33, 37. I mean, so the last 4 or 5 games have not been good at all, but the matchups haven't been as easy. So, you know, in there is a matchup against Miami, a matchup against Cleveland. So, I mean, not the best spots on paper. So I think he's an awesome tournament play tonight. And outside of him, Mathurin is the other guy that I have a little bit of interest in, but I'm not as high on the Pacers side.
Yeah, no, I agree. If Tyrese or Miles Turner are ruled out, then the Neesmiths of the world.
Anthony's helping me out. I did not know that Sexton fouled out of that game, so I appreciate that, Anthony.
Yep, there you go, Anthony. Yeah, I mean, you can always talk me into Tyrese. His price is as cheap as it's been past like 6 games, so you can always talk me in a big total. But Mangone definitely looks like Utah side's getting ownership, breaks that side down, and talk about the Pacers. Any interest there?
Yeah, I mean, one thing to call out too with the Horton Tucker thing is like Kelly O was in foul trouble, and Horton Tucker was getting some time because of that too. So that could like some of those guys can like leave the lineup if that's the case, or he could not close out too if some of those other options are playing better. So that's worth mentioning. I know Olynyk was messing with some foul trouble too, but overall, Sexton, Talon Horton Tucker, Walker Kessler, 3 really strong plays from this game. One of the keys is Colin Sexton. He helps that tough shooting guard spot, which I typically don't like the roster. It's an 11-game slate, so it's a little bit easier to do that. Talon Horton-Tucker, he's guard and forward eligible, so he falls on teams more because of his eligibility. Sometimes you look at the teams when you got to run them and you're like, man, why am I getting Horton-Tucker a bunch? And it's like, well, you can put him at so many different positions, right? It's because of that guard and forward eligibility. Walker Kessler, on the flip side, would be very chalky if you just randomly took Mark Williams and the Charlotte Hornets off this slate, right? He would gain more ownership. He's one of those guys that's getting a little bit lower owned, and I think he'd be a really good play. You could argue, though, let's say the game happens to go small. Let's say they get behind this Pacers team. Well, couldn't Kelly Olynyk play at the 5 at times, and that hurt Walker Kessler's minutes? That could happen. So that is a route to think about when you're rostering some of these Jazz options, that one of these guys will get the short end of the stick. So that could obviously hurt some of these plays. Overall, though, I think those three are really good options. Kelly Olynyk, I like as a value. I don't hate Jordan Clarkson for like a little bit of a mid-tier balance type build. I think he could be another interesting option to throw in there on the Jazz side. Obviously, a really good game to discuss. Indiana, if you are missing Miles Turner and Halliburton, you will see some plays pop up here for sure. I like what AP said. No one will have Mathurin on their radar, or not Mathurin. No one will have Halliburton on their radar right now. And the main reason why is because the dude's questionable, right? He's not popping because other guys are. So he'll be a really interesting contrarian tournament play when he's ruled in. I do think Mathurin is a pretty interesting option that's guard and forward eligible. If you look, he's playing 30 minutes a night, gets a pretty good matchup too. I think he's an interesting play at 4.6K that has the upside to get like a 30 to 40 DK point game. So I really like Mathurin in tournaments. I think he's someone I want to be overweight on. I'm MMEing that $4 today. So I'm going to do my best to get overweight on him. And then if a Miles Turner sat, you'd have to consider some of these big men. But as the Indiana Pacers go, got to see what the starting lineup is, right? Once you see the lineup, then you got to hold your nose and pray that Rick Carlisle is not going to ruin you with the lineup and foul trouble. So that's a whole other dynamic that could come into play this slate. We don't know yet. We have to wait for that news. So that'll be something that I'm managing and thinking about when that lineup comes out.
Yeah, great breakdown. This game's at 7, though, so we'll get that news before lock. Probably not on this show, but the Up to Lock show. Nobody does it better than JSU breaking it down up to lock. If you're not a member, Mangone15 gets you 15% off. SaberSim is also included in that. Need that for the Up to Lock show. Quick question for you, AP, before we get to the next game. Kelly Olynyk or Gordon Hayward from William?
I mean, I think I would have to go. I mean, it's kind of gross, but I think I would have to go Gordon Hayward. I just like the rotation that he got, and they just don't. They have no depth at all. So you got to think these main guys are going to get a lot of run here.
I'll admit, I struggle with the Gordon Hayward thing, but it's gotten better, and I guess the matchup too. I lean Kelly Olynyk, but yeah, maybe AP. Should I actually like Gordon Hayward more today? He's one I looked at and I was like, man, he looks like he's getting way more ownership than I want to on this day, right?
I always struggle with them too, man.
Yeah.
I hate playing them. So those are the two. Like, I'm not as high on those two. So if I don't have exposure to them, I don't just see either one killing me. But the guy I do think would be more likely to kill me would be Gordon Hayward between the two.
There you go. Side with Mangone if you want Kelly O. If you want to side with AP, you go Gordon Hayward. We're going to keep it rolling.
Both. I mean, they're just both not fun. But yeah, they're
I mean, Sean, we agree with you. He's trash. We were answering someone's question. It was a 1v1 question. We're limited with our options there, buddy.
Sean's getting under AP's skin a little bit. I haven't seen that after a win too. Man, someone's got some. Sean and AP.
We gotta stay locked in, Title. We gotta stay locked in.
We're staying locked in. We're moving to the next game. However, Marky reminded me we do need that like button. 600 watch and 175 likes. I'll say 300. Want to get you the plays of the day on this Monday. A lot of basketball still left though. We got to keep it moving. San Antonio Spurs, Cleveland Cavaliers, 224 total. Cleveland favored by 15. The Cavs are healthy, but the Spurs are not. They're still without Trey Jones, Romeo Langford, Devin Vassell. Doug McDermott's questionable. Charles Bassey is questionable. Mangone, I'll stick with you in this game. I don't see too much that I like. What do you see? 15-point spread, low total. Not something I usually like signing up for.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I know Sean doesn't want to talk about Gordon Hayward, but one thing you got to do sometimes is talk about these plays that are popping, right? That like you might not have as much interest in, but you got to mention they could be good fades, right? And speaking of good fades, like, I don't know, fading the Spurs, like, that seems like a good fade right now. I mean, do I really want to play these guys? The only guy I'm really interested in is Zach Collins, but center is loaded. Zach Collins is an elite fantasy producer. That's one thing to call out about him. Let's see what the minutes have been. I know I played him a bunch, and it's been great. The Detroit game, he played 35 minutes. He played 23 against Atlanta, and he had 18 at halftime, and then absolutely fell off. That's the one concern when it comes to someone like Zach Collins is sometimes the minutes can fall off. I know they had a couple more bodies compared to last time. We do need to see what this news is going to be. I know Keldon Johnson's probable. What they have SoCan at? He's probable as well, so he's good to go. I know Bassey had that questionable tag, but I'm not that worried about Bassey's minutes cutting in to someone like Collins. So yes, they are missing Trey Jones, but they do have Keldon back. They have SoCan, who does have a ton of upside and can ball handle a little bit. So overall, Zach Collins is fine. Not someone I'm prioritizing. Also, not someone I'm Xing from my pool. But I'll tell you this. Forward is a rough position to roster at times. A guy that I typically stay away from in my single entry stuff is Keldon Johnson. I'm like, I don't need to go there. Other forwards I'd like to go to, I feel like he pops a lot, mainly because projections like him based on looking at the usage and what it could be. And I just don't think he's as great of a play. Now, if he beats me, he beats me. Keldon is someone I'm probably fading at the forward spot. Zach Collins is probably someone I will consider playing, but I'm not going to like totally adjust it completely. And then when it comes to the other side, which is the Cavs, I know on the flow chart, Jared Allen was in there, right? And one thing I kind of talked about in my thread today, which is like, and someone asked me in the chat, how do you use matchups in NBA? And sometimes the way I'll use it is I see Clint Capella's a really good play, and he's popping, but I'll look for a guy that's a contrarian pivot that's like maybe $500 or $1,000 more that I can go to give me a different construction. Well, Jared Allen does that, right? Typically, I like to do that with like chalk plays I don't like. Like, for instance, let's say everyone's playing Keldon Johnson, and I don't like Keldon Johnson chalk. Well, maybe I'll pivot up to a Lauri Markkanen, who maybe might not get ownership, or I'll pivot down $500 to get off of that construction. And Jared Allen is a way to do that in a matchup that is absolutely elite. So those are ways that I handle it. If I happen to get some Jared Allen, that's great. I think he's someone that I want to keep in my pool. Evan Mobley, that's perfectly fine. These other studs, Garland, Mitchell, they feel a bit pricier to me. I don't think they're options that I really want to gravitate towards. There's other spend-up guards that I'd rather take chances on, like Halliburton, who AP mentioned before. So that's kind of how I'm handling this game. Not a ton of exposure. It's really looking at the big men and then moving on here.
Yeah, Jared Allen, I think solid play. Will be lower owned because of that center position. Can play Mobley at the 4. Talk a little bit about Devontae Graham, AP. A lot of people talk about him. Chalked his first game with the Spurs, 2 solid games. What do you see, Cavaliers and the Spurs?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to play Devontae Graham, he's a rock chalk guy, KU baller. I mean, he's got to be a little pumped after the KC victory last night. So you have a little narrative going there. However, we can't really trust these Spurs. The rotation's a disaster. Pop has plenty of bodies there to work with. The one take that's interesting, and I am going to watch the Up to Lock show very closely because JSU has been talking about this a lot. When Trey Jones is out, you're going to see Jeremy Shohan run the offense. That's what we want. Go look at his uses. His offensive usage when he's on the court is well over 30% when Trey Jones is off the court. Ball's in his hand. He's running the offense. So while it's a really tough matchup, I think that's a really interesting take there in way to attack this game. I just don't trust the rotation. He's also been dealing with some injury issues. So I do think it's a really risky play. It's perfect. It's a perfect play for that $4 100K up top tournament tonight because he's going to be very, very low owned.
Yeah, like AP, a good talking point with him. If I get like 5 to like 10%, I'm cool with it. Like if the opto pushes like 30, 40, 50, like I personally would adjust that. But like, what would you do with that? Because I think he's a good play. But again, I don't want to be overexposed to something like that. I think that's like a good 150 max conversation.
Yeah, I would have him in my like GPP filler range, like 5 to 15%, because I think he's going to be like 1 or 2% owned. I mean, it's his price tag's awkward. The box scores outside of his production don't look good from a minute standpoint. So that's how I would attack it. I love Jared Allen on the slate. I think another thing I would look at is like in that $4. I mean, the field is massive. You're going to be competing against a lot of people. I would just look at what do these builds look like if I just X out Mark Williams and I play the Clint Capellas, the Walker Kesslers, the Jared Allens, like live in that range. Now you're going to need – the thing is you're going to need those guys to produce and put up a big number. But, again, you're trying to win a massively large field tournament. So that's how I would look at attacking it. I'm not saying I'd full fade them because I'm running 4 tonight. I'm not maxing the $4, but that's something I would definitely look at. Darius Garland.
Maybe
Go
just to bring this up, because again, it's a good point. Like, Allen pops up when I just run like, my first top 50 teams, right? Like he still pops up. It's only on one team, but that just shows he's one of these like next tier plays where, like you said, what happens when you X out Mark Williams? You're going to get a ton of more Jared Allen just naturally popping up on your teams, which that means that's kind of a good tier two play to get exposure to for sure. So, and again, that kind of fits the bill of he's on the flow chart, amazing matchup. If this game's competitive, how on earth does Jared Allen not put up a 40-50 piece? And he's 6.8K. I mean, those are ceiling performances that you like want to have in your MME pool.
Yeah. Yep. The backcourt, I do have a little bit of concern just because like a 15, like they're favored by 15 points. That's massive for the NBA. I mean, you rarely ever see a spread that large. So I do have concerns for the starters here. Like I wouldn't like, all right. So I don't think it's a good enough play, but like, I wouldn't be surprised if like Ricky Rubio came in and put up like 26, 27. He's going to get you the flame emoji by him, but I don't know if that's going to be enough to take that a large field tournament. So while I think like Rubio could come in and crush, I don't think he has the upside to justify playing him at 4K. So I'm under on the Cavs side outside of Jared Allen. And then I'm going to look at Devontae Graham, but this matchup is just so tough. So if I finish with no Spurs in my lineup, I'll be very content. It's a massive slate. The Spurs always find a way to own us. And it's a team you can just cross out and feel good about it.
Yeah, you can cross out Spurs pretty much any slate, and especially 11-game slate. So, yeah, if you don't have any of them, I think you're totally fine. Don't see really much ownership going in that Cavs-Spurs game, though. We got to keep it rolling. We got 11 games on the slate. Still at 7 p.m. Eastern games. Very in-depth breakdowns here. Houston Rockets, Philadelphia 76ers, 226.5 total. Another big spread. Philly is favored by 13.5. KPJ is still out for Houston. Joel Embiid is questionable for Philly. He's been questionable. We'll get this news before lock. If I have to guess, he's going to be in. If he's in, man, I don't see much ownership going to this game. Mango, what do you see in it?
Yeah, I'm going to keep this one simple. It's really Embiid or bust for me in this game. Just a contrarian way to build today. A lot of people, like I said, they're spending up for Jimmy Butler. They're spending up for Damian Lillard. So if you spend up for Joel Embiid, you're not spending up for those other two options, right? So it's going to give you a little bit of a different build. Amazing matchup for someone like Joel Embiid against this Rockets team. If the game is competitive and close, he's definitely going to, be a part of it, right? Now, you could go Jokic instead of him. We'll talk about it, and there's news that could be coming that could make him a better play. So that's another way to kind of go about being different with it, and I could see my Embiid shares turning into Jokic shares as we get closer to getting some of that Nuggets news. But overall, I think Embiid is a pretty good play. Other than that, though, I don't really want to go to anyone from this game. I know Jabari Smith had that funny Instagram post last night. He was having trouble sleeping while the Phillies fans were out and about. But overall, Embiid or bust for me, and we can keep moving on.
Yeah. What's going on, Michael? Hope everything's going well. Tyler asked about Chetty in the last game. It's a blowout. I wouldn't mess with that 11-game slate. And yeah, Trey Jones is already out, Butthole Jenkins. AP, going to you. Again, not seeing too much ownership. Someone's saying Jayshawn Tate popping a bit. Yeah, he probably will carry the most ownership in this game if Embiid is in, of course. If he's out, Harden, all that. Even if Embiid's in, AP, Harden revenge, what do you see in this?
Yeah, I mean, Joel Embiid, the price tag just feels too low. So I'm with man going there. I like James Harden. I love this. You got the revenge, too, against his former team. But he already got his revenge, if you want to call it that, when he put up that massive number in his first return home to Houston. But I think you can, I actually think Harden and Embiid correlate fairly well. Are you going to get, GPP winning, large field GPP winning upside by playing both of them? No, probably not. It's more of if I'm looking at the 254 max tonight, I think you can play Harden and Embiid. And then what you do is you put Jayshawn Tate in at the small forward position. He's going to play around 25 to 28 minutes. And you can play him at the point guard or small forward position. I would plug him in at the small forward position. It's a unique way to stack this game up. The other way I like to attack it is with Tyrese Maxey. He's going to come off the bench, but he's been getting extended run. The matchup is just pristine. I mean, this is a really, really good matchup. And this is another play for that $4. If you're running 10 in there, I would play guys like this because no one's going to play Maxey because he doesn't start. But the price tag is really, really intriguing. Just give his owners or give his projection a bump. Like if he's, I don't know what he's at right now, but bump him up by 3, 4, 5 points and just see what your builds look in doing so. So that's how I'm attacking this game. I think the Philly side's fine. Tyrese Maxey in tournaments. And then I'm probably going to run one of those Harden, Embiid, and then run it back with Jayshawn Tate at small forward stacks.
Yeah, you'll definitely be contrarian with Harden and Embiid. No one's going to do that. We're going to keep it rolling, though. Again, not much ownership in that Philly-Houston game. If Embiid is ruled out, a lot of people will be loading up on Philly. Keeping it rolling from one of the best centers in the league to another, Denver Nuggets, Miami Heat, 219.5 total. Denver is favored by 1. Best center, of course, I'm talking about Bam Adebayo here. The Heat, you go to their side. Yurtseven out, Jovic out. They're thin in the front court. So, Bam, what are your thoughts on him? I'm kidding. Of course, I'm talking about Jokic. He's one of the best big men. Hopefully, I made one person laugh out there. Tyler Hero isn't going to play, though. That's the big news here. Heater popping a little bit. Kyle Lowry's still out. Victor Oladipo's still out. Duncan Robinson out as well. As far as Denver, Aaron Gordon, Jamal Murray, both questionable. Pretty important news as well. Hopefully, we get this news before lock. Then I'll go to you in this one. Talk about Jokic, Jimmy, Bam. I think we see a decent amount of ownership in this game. Could be even more if the Jamals of the world get ruled out. What are your thoughts? Thank you, for laughing, Chunky Blue.
Yeah, I didn't know where you were going with it, and then I realized, oh yeah, Bam's going against Jokic. And when it's an 11-game slate, I'll admit sometimes I'm forgetting who's against who. Jokic, let's start with him because if Murray and Gordon are out, that's really good for Jokic. It's going to give bumps to guys like Bruce Brown who are going to get some more, more ball handling responsibilities. Michael Porter Jr. is another one that could get a bump. But we got to wait and see what's going to happen with that news. Another thing to note is, well, this is not the most ideal matchup, right? Just because of the pace that the Heat typically play at, they grind it out a little bit more. So you could make a case that if it was just the Kings, yeah, like load the boat, right? Or the Hawks, okay, like load up. But that's like the flip side argument for not being as high on the Nuggets. But we need that news. That's going to be important. We'll be in the Discord chat, breaking all that down for the people, helping them out. We'll update our content for it. So be sure to check everything with that. Let's discuss some of the Heat situation. So Jimmy Butler, 8.4K. AP, we stare at this slate, right? Doesn't it seem very difficult to fade Jimmy Butler in a spot against the Nuggets where it's like they don't play as much defense? Doesn't it feel really hard to fade that spot, AP?
I mean, it does. He's from a position flexibility standpoint, though. Like,
yes,
you can only play him at the power forward spot, so that's not too nice there.
I'm happy you brought that.
Is that what you're getting at, man?
Yeah, that's exactly it.
I knew it. There you go.
So what happens, sometimes what happens on these slates, right, is like when we look at like the power forward position, and like I currently don't have a power forward I like, so it makes me want to play Jimmy more. But let's say a value emerges, right? Like for instance, like I assume he has the power forward eligibility. Let's say you have Gordon ruled out and you have Jamal Murray ruled out. Well, wouldn't Kankar at 3.7K in a starter become one of the better, not better, but a very good value on this slate? Also, I believe Max Struss, does he have that flexibility? He's small forward this time. He's had power forward at times. But point I'm getting at is if you have some really good power forward values that pop up, that will make me more excited to make that Jimmy Butler fade. Also, at 8.4K, if he gets 50 DK points, you're excited about that, but is that a winning performance? No, it's not for sure a winning performance. It's not for sure guaranteed, because if you have a value play at like 4K that gets you like 30, DK points, well, that'll be enough. So I'm going to be on the lookout as we kind of get closer to lock. What power forward plays are popping up that could be interesting? Also, if I spend my money on Jimmy Butler at 8.4K, well, now I can't get some other spend up options. That's going to force me off of other really interesting builds and plays. So I'm considering trying to get lower on Jimmy Butler on this slate. One thing that I know Big T has mentioned on slates that I think is a great way to go about it is don't X Jimmy Butler from your player pool. But let's say you're getting 80% Jimmy Butler in your MME and he's got a 45 projection. Well, move that projection down to maybe 40 or 41, which that's a pretty aggressive move. And based on that aggressive move, maybe you're still getting a lot of Jimmy, or maybe you're not getting enough. And you're like, okay, maybe I want to move it to 42 or 43. By the time you move it to 43, maybe you're getting 25%. Maybe that's a number that you want to kind of be even on the field. For me, if I could pick an ideal scenario, I want to be even with the field on Jimmy Butler. I don't want him to hurt me. I don't want him to help me. Like, that's what I would pick the number. If you told me he was 35% tonight, I'd put it at 35% and I would just move on. Obviously, we don't know the exact percentage, but that's where I'm at with my Jimmy Butler take. I know it's not the best, but in my single entry, he is the guy that I'm considering as my fade rather than Damian Lillard as one of my studs. Typically, what I like to do in single entry is if I know there's two studs that we're looking at on this slate, Damian Lillard and Jimmy Butler, I try not to play them together and I try to like separate them from each other if I want to still play those good value plays. Like, I'm not going to make a team that goes Damian Lillard, Jimmy Butler, Mark Williams, Clint Capella. If I do that, I better have a lot of like just low owned plays peppered in there for my full lineup ownership to be a lot lower. So overall, Jimmy Butler, he's fine. I think it's a good spot, but Jimmy Butler chalk is not like some other stud chalks that we've seen in past slates. So let's at least call that out. Jokic, like I said, I think he's a really good contrarian spend up. That news is going to be super important. I haven't talked about Max Struss. I know that's K Alex boy. I'm sure we'll talk about him on the Up the Lock show. At 3.8K, it's a pretty good spot for him. And the Nuggets, they'll definitely, give up some 3-point options where I think he's a really good value that I'm considering. Guard and forward eligible, so I have to like Max Struss. Definitely going to be a play that I look at here on this slate. And I know I've talked a lot about this game. Let's see if there's anything else. I know Gabe Vincent's popping up a little bit, but at 4 or 5, there might be other ways I want to spend my kind of guard position, especially with Jimmy being like just with Tyler Hero out. I don't know if Gabe Vincent has that like 35 or 40 ceiling. That's the one thing I worry about a little bit here. And there could be other values that I like to go to. But overall, I want to play some of these Heat options. Nuggets, we need to get that news. That's going to be super important.
Yeah, talking a lot about the Heat because Tyler Hero is out. Denver side won't get as much ownership. Are you going to get to Jokic as a contrarian spend, AP? Talk about Jimmy, Struss, those guys break down this game.
Yeah, so really interesting spot. Obviously, we know like the Heat are going to profile as really strong plays. And here's the thing. On this road trip that the Nuggets are currently on, they're getting off to like really slow starts in these games. They lost the game against Orlando. Shout out to our boy Jaime. Orlando's his team. Nice win there over Yoke and company. But then they get out to another slow start, I believe, against Charlotte. The last time they won that game. But, man, I think this is a battle. And I think Miami, like taking Miami here, I know it's not a betting show, but I like the Miami side of this game. We're going to see really tight rotation. I think Bam is really interesting. If he stays out of foul trouble, he's going to play 40-plus minutes, or probably right around 40 minutes. And you're going to see the same from Jimmy. Jimmy's done really well against the Nuggets. So you have many different things going in his favor. Gabe Vincent, he's going to play all the minutes he can handle. Max Struss, Caleb Martin, they're also going to play a ton of minutes. So the question becomes, how many Heat is too many? I like them all. I think probably 3 to 4 is the right number. And it really just depends because there's so many strong plays on the slate. We got this guy, Jamari Booyah. Or Booyah. I didn't know how you say his name. I'm going to call him Booyah.
I said Booyah too last week.
Our boy K Fallick was talking about him in chat. So I haven't read what he's had to say, but he's 3K. I'm probably not playing anyone off the bench here. Maybe Hayward Highsmith, but I'm not that high on him. I just think you see a tight rotation. I think you see the Miami play really good, and I think they steal one against the Nuggets here.
Yeah, good breakdown. I mean, he is talking about Booyah because he played 9 minutes and 14 minutes. I imagine. I haven't even saw his comment, but he'd have 9 bodies.
Good? I've never heard of this guy.
I don't think
I watch a lot of basketball.
I think
he's the only guard off. He's the why I know why K Fallick. Well, I've listened to K Fallick and all this so much. They have 9 guys, and the only guard off the bench is this Booyah guy. Haywood Highsmith forward, Landon Robinson center, Coach Jamal Cain forward. The thing is, yeah, I mean, what he's going to say is outside of Gabe Vincent handling the ball, they could go Jimmy Butler playing the points, but I'm guessing K Fallick thinks he's going to play like 25 minutes or 22 minutes or something just because they don't have guards. But if you do want to know that, you do have to listen to the Up to Lock show with K Fallick. They do have 9
He's had some monster G League numbers. Just go to the Google and type it in. I mean, man, he's had like a quadruple double. He's had some monster games. So keep in mind, this is completely different. He's going to, just because he produced in the G League, it's not going to be the same here. When he's on the court, he's going to be like the 4th or 5th option. So I would
Nasty
be
said he's
cautious with
good.
that play.
Seaside, California. I mean, yeah, if you're putting up that many numbers in the G, the thing is, why I think K-Falk likes them. They have 9 bodies, and the only guard off the bench is this Booyah guy. So if you want to know if K-Falk's on him, I would listen to just him on that. If he has a read, K-Falk's great at those plays. He will be on the Up to Lock show. Mangone 15 gets you 15% off. Saber Sim is included as well. So we got what, 4 games, or no, we still got 6 games left. K-Falk's on Up to Lock, so that means he can yell at me. So we got to keep it moving. Next game, I think, could be a catch-up game. Brooklyn Nets, New York Knicks, 220 total. Knicks are favored by 2.5. Seth Curry's out for Brooklyn. Mitch Robb is out for the Knicks. 2 relatively healthy teams. Can play these Knicks guys because you know where the minutes are going. I don't really see much in this game, though. AP, what do you see?
I mean, you can always play the Brun God, like we call him, Jalen Brunson, 8.8K. I will say I do worry with Josh Hart and stuff mixing in. You're getting a little bit deeper of a rotation. We know Tibbs doesn't like to run out a lot of dudes, but he has more guys to work with now. So that would be my only concern here. But here's what I always do with Brunson and Randall. I give them a fair projection, and if they hit, I'll play them. Or if they are a flowchart spot, mainly Brunson, we saw that against Utah. He was low owned. He was like, I want to say like 7% owned. And our boy, who he had $58, he played Brunson in that tournament, took down the 100K. So Brunson's always going to be a play for me. And then, man, I don't know what you guys think. Like, I like Cam Johnson. He's 4.9. Outside of that, I'm not too high here on the Nets. The Nets are like just starting. They got to figure something out. I mean, did you guys catch the end of their last game? They were
Dinwiddie. He just was in his hand that he sent it to OT, but came back.
Yeah, they don't have that alpha. They got to figure out who's going to be the late game guy. Like, think about. I mean, you can think about any team. Cam Thomas is going to be alpha. I mean, I agree with you, but I mean, we'll see. Cam Thomas, though,
we did get some news. Cam Thomas, yeah, we did get. Sorry to interrupt.
Or Cam Johnson, not Cam. I'm not playing Cam Thomas. Cam Johnson's who I like.
No, you like Cam Johnson, yeah. 4.9. I think he's in play as the last piece for sure. I was saying they need a guy at the end of the game. Get the ball to Cam Thomas is what I was saying. Miles Turner was ruled out though. I mean, just really quickly, if you look at their backup bigs, like if Jalen Smith starts, I think you can play Jalen Smith. If it's like Daniel Tice, that's a little grosser. Jordan Nwora, I think he'll be healthy. So, I mean, the Pacers still got a lot of bodies. If it's Jalen Smith at 3K, Daniel Tice at 3K, Isaiah Jackson 3-1, the big that's going to start that's min-price at 3K, I think you can play. But that's kind of how I see the Indy news. Again, can't get yelled at by K-Falk. You guys want more information on Indy, you'll have to be a member. Ask some questions on the Up to Lock show about them. But I say whatever big starts at 3K, I think is in play. Let's keep it rolling, though. Next game on the slate. Mango, I didn't touch on you with the Knicks, Brooklyn. I just assume you didn't have much in it.
You can play Knicks. Like any slate, Brunson, like Randall as contrarian spends makes sense. They play so many minutes. They can pop for a big game. Not for me tonight. You will not see them. The only way you can see Randall in my lineup is like, I do think a contrarian like power forward spend is interesting, right? To get off of Jimmy. So I could maybe see Randall, but let's keep this thing moving, title.
Yeah, I figured you didn't like much. Next game, Orlando Magic, Chicago Bulls, 224.5 total. Chicago is favored by 4.5. Orlando is healthy as far as the Bulls. Caruso is questionable, and that's it. Mango, I'll go to you. I mean, we got 2 healthy teams. I don't know. What do you see? Apollo, Suggs, DeRozan, Levine. I mean, not a game I think you'll have too much, but talk about it.
It is the old Vucevic revenge game against Orlando. And Vucevic revenge games definitely have hit for sure. I think he had a 54 spot against this team recently. I mean, whenever he plays Philly and Orlando, it always feels like he pops off. He could be a contrarian spend, but probably not for me tonight. And I don't know. I think this game's a really good fade spot. Like, I think some of these Orlando guys are priced up. So I'm staying away from this spot, especially with this news we just got with some Miles Turner stuff.
Yeah, I mean, we talked a lot on these first couple of games because I think they're very good ones. I think some of these later are pretty easy skips. AP, I'm kind of with Mangone as a skip. What do you see in this one?
Yeah, I'm with you guys. I think the only thing I would be interested in is if Jalen Suggs were to start. He's 3'6". You can play him at the point guard, shooting guard position. He would be the one guy I would have interest in. But no, we can't play Wendell Carter. It's revenge for Wendell Carter also. But him and Mo Wagner splitting minutes. I mean, this Orlando rotation is just so deep. I mean, I guess in that $4 you could keep Cole Anthony and Suggs and these guys in your player pool just because we've seen Cole Anthony have big games. But I'm playing 4 tonight, and there's no chance I'm playing any of those guys except if Suggs is starting at 3.6. And then on the other side, I mean, DeRozan, like 8.3 looks cheap, but man, he's been playing really bad. I hate playing these Bulls guys when they're all healthy, so I am in on the fade. And Vucevic, sure, revenge, but man, he's 9K. I have very little interest playing him tonight.
Yeah, if this game beats me, it beats me. 11-game slate, you can't play them all is how I look at it. We're going to keep it rolling, though. Over 700 watching, 260 likes. Let's get 400. Let's try and get 400. We'll get you the plays of the day. I already know you guys are going to get above 300, but let's make a push. Surprise me on this Monday. We appreciate it. 2 seconds, like button, big red subscribe button, all we ask for you. 11 games, though, we're going to keep it rolling. Next game on the slate, New Orleans Pelicans, OKC Thunder, 235.5 total. OKC is favored by 2.5. CJ McCollum's questionable. Obviously, very big news. Zion's still out. Dyson Daniels still out for the Pelicans. OKC, nothing has changed there. Poku's just going to be out for a while. AP, I'll go back to you in this one quick. Brandon Ingram, if McCollum's out, so Ingram's already a good play at 7.8. If McCollum's out, you'll definitely want Ingram. Probably be the chalkiest player on the slate, especially if we get the news. If he's out, though, too, like Jose Alvarado probably starts, becomes a much better play. McCollum's news, interesting. Do you have any lean with him? And talk about some of these OKC guys, especially Jalen Williams and Jalen Williams. I think 2 interesting plays that have shown some upside. What do you got?
Yeah, I mean, if McCollum is out, then yeah, Ingram is going to be a phenomenal play. Guards have been crushing. CJ McCollum's on the flow chart, so we need this news because Jose Alvarado would become one of the best values if the news goes that way. So I don't think, like, let's just say the news doesn't break that your way. I still think he's in play in like a large field tournament because he's getting over 20 minutes off the bench and the matchup is good. And he's shown the ability to produce if his shot goes down. Do I feel confident in him? Like if CJ McCollum is playing? No. I mean, it's a true like punt risky situation, but he's going to be very low owned. They also have Josh Richardson now too. I believe. Do you guys know if he's active?
Yeah, I think he is. Min price 3K too.
Yeah. So man, this is going to be a really interesting situation because you play the small forward spot. We need the starting lineup, as Mangone always says. It's hard to do anything without it. I'm off OKC today. Shea, I mean, he's 10-7. I would rather find a little bit more money for Dame Lillard. So that gets me off of Shea. And then I think there's better plays than Giddey. So, fully fading OKC. And Joe, what's your take on Joe Val? I think Joe Val is another good play in that $4. So, like the $4 plays at center, I'd be looking at Capella, Walker Kessler. I would even look at like Bam and then like Joe Val. I would. Those are the type of guys I would be looking at for sure.
I mean, yeah, I'll never say no to Joe Val in tournaments because, like, if I'm scrolling through his game log, you see a 44, 38, 43, 59. The thing is, you're looking at his minutes recently. Now that there's healthy, he's playing like 25 minutes top, so he can get you 52 fantasy points per minute he's shown. But, man, I want my guys playing 30 minutes. It feels a lot safer. So, Joe Val's tough for me. He has a ceiling to win your GPP, no doubt, though. Man, go break this one down for us.
Yeah, I can be pretty quick. The thing with J-Val is like, if I get like 5 to 10%, I'll be like, whatever, I won't shake things up. If I'm seeing like 40 or something like high, I'm going to be like, I don't got the balls to do that. So I will definitely adjust it. I will make sure he doesn't ruin my night. And on my like single entry 3-max teams, I will probably avoid him today. So just for me, it's not for me. Maybe I need to wear 4 condoms. I'm not sure, but it's very hard. It's very hard for me to get there on J-Val. I love the Alvarado call. We need that lineup, though. That's going to be important. I do think it's a really good spot for Brandon Ingram. He is one of those mid-range value plays, and at 7.8, people might see it and be like, oh, it doesn't get you 40. But if CJ sits, this could really open things up. I think Brandon Ingram is a phenomenal play, someone that I'm looking to play at 7.8K. So yeah, I think he's a good one, but we can keep moving along. We did get news, by the way, that came through. John Collins is out, and that's going to open up some stuff, and we'll break it down. Like, I mean, Hunter's going to become a better play. It'll help Capella, but like that'll be up to Lock Show stuff. They can handle it for you. These are definitely going to be some plays on the Hawks that open up and get a little bit better. And even Bogdanovich at 5-1, he has a 40-point ceiling at that price and could definitely have a pretty good game.
Yeah. So yeah, Collins out, up to Lock Show, break it down. You bump Capella, bump Okongwu, bump DeAndre Hunter, Bogdanovich. I will say though, Atlanta has a lot of bodies. Sadiq Bey is now in that conversation as well. So rotations, I mean, if they really wanted, they could still play Bogdanovich, Hunter. I mean, all those guys just 30 minutes. And
what's crazy is Trae Young gets on paper the biggest fantasy point per minute and usage bump, and it's pretty significant, like 5%. So is that just from this year with DeJounte too in the mix, or is that like? Yeah, I'm just looking at this. Too? I'm looking at this season.
This year. There you go. Yeah. Trae is a contrarian spend. I think that makes some sense. But
yeah, I think it's what happens is Collins takes up more usage, and when he gets the ball, the putbacks, like he'll grab the ball a bunch and he'll do a lot of dribbling. Like Capella, when he grabs the board, he just kicks it back out, right? Unless the putback's there. So and Capella will pass it out the Trae to really rock that pick and roll a lot. Like they love to work together, and that's why we've seen Trae's production be a little bit better with Capella back in the lineup as well.
There we go. Great breakdown there. We're going to keep it rolling though. 3 games left on the slate. 8:30 p.m. Eastern. Minnesota Timberwolves, Dallas Mavericks, 232.5 total. Dallas is favored by 6.5. Rudy Gobert is questionable. Kyle Anderson is questionable. Important news for Minnesota. Obviously, Gobert gets ruled out. Naz Reid would become a great play. As far as Dallas, Tim Hardaway questionable. Maxi Kleber out. Davis Bertans out. I see Davis Bertans, so I got to throw it to AP first. That's his boy. What are we doing in this game?
Yeah, this game's almost probably a fade for me. Well, especially the Mavs side, like with Luka, Kyrie in there, they're both priced way up. I'm not going to mess around with that. I'm not like Josh Green, but I think he's a fringe play. I think like a Hunter. There's a lot of other plays that are much better. So full fade of the Mavs for me. And I'm probably just looking at how the slate breaks down. I'm probably going to end up under or fading the Timberwolves as well. But we still got to wait for the news. I mean, if you get the situation where a spot opens up and you could play like a Naz Reid if Gobert is out, I'm definitely going to be looking for that opportunity. But the Wolves have a lot of guys. They have a lot of different bodies that they can put in. So I don't think it's like a must either to kind of prepare for this situation. But let's see what Mangone has to say for sure.
Yeah, I agree about that, but no one does late swap and planning ahead like Mangone. So Mangone, you planning ahead for this Gobert questionable and slow-mo questionable stuff? What else you got?
It might be my strength, but it can also be your weakness too. Sometimes I overdo it, and I'm not overdoing this one, right? I'm not saying, hey, I need to prioritize the Rudy Gobert and Kyle Anderson thing because, again, we play NBA DFS a lot, right? We can read situations. These guys are always questionable. If it happens to pop up, then I'll make adjustments. But I don't think we're going to get this news in time. I'm not going to blow up all my lineups to just wait on this news. I don't think it's worth it. So I'm out on planning for that. I'm just going to wait and see what happens to that news and go from there on the Timberwolves side. I doubt I'm going to have that much exposure to these guys. Listen, I love Ant Edwards, but I just think it's the wrong slate for it. I'm good. Dallas too. I don't need to plan for it. Now, if Luka pops up as a contrarian spend, like let's say there's a lot of forward value that I'm getting throughout my lineups, and I have Luka as a raw point guard spend. Listen, I'm never going to say no to Luka, but on this slate, I'm not prioritizing him. I'll tell you that. If he happens to fall on my 150, sure, I'll keep him in. No big deal. If I'm getting too much and I think I want to get some other studs in my lineup, I'll bring his ownership down, or not ownership, I'll bring his projection down. That way I can get more guys in my lineup. So overall, this game seems like a solid fade for me, and we can kind of keep going along so K Falcons doesn't get too upset.
I appreciate that. But yeah, look, the early games look a lot better to me. That's how I'm seeing it. And like Embiid questionable tags, like early Halliburton, like news could break where I think they're even better. But we got 2 games left. Maybe we'll have some interest in these last 2. Again, we need 300 likes. We're pretty much there. Let's try and make a push for 400, almost 800.
I guess, Title, we should mention, I should have said this. Tim Hardaway Jr. is questionable. And Josh Green, if Hardaway Jr. is out, Josh Green is already getting a pile of minutes, but I think this would help give him a little bit more shot attempts. And I do feel pretty strongly that he's in this like Dorian Finney-Smith type role, and he's been really awesome. So I wouldn't hate getting a splash of him at that forward position because I think it's always a good spot to get different with some of your plays. So I should call out the Josh Green thing is not a bad option.
There you go. Good shout there. What I was going to say is after you hit that big like button, big red subscribe button too, we have an arrow. Don't forget to subscribe. We appreciate that. We'll be going live up to lock show in about 15 minutes. That is a premium product though, as long as the playbook, core plays, cash charts, float or AP's heat map, all this stuff we got going on at Run Pier Sports. Do need to be a member. Man going 15% off. 2 games left. Let's see if we have some more interest than we did in those last couple. Washington Wizards, Golden State Warriors. 233.5 total. Golden State is favored by 4.5. Kyle Kuzma is out for Washington. Big news there. Steph's going to be out till at least the All-Star break. Andrew Wiggins will play. AP, I'll go to you in this one. With Kuzma out, are you getting a Porzingis? You getting a Bradley Beal? No Steph there, which has been the case. But Poole, Wiggins, Draymond, anything? Wizards and Golden State?
I think the Wizards guys are still priced appropriately. So, like, I don't think Porzingis at 9.9 is like a must play at all. I think he's a tournament play. And the same goes for Bradley Beal. Like, I will say, watching the game, Beal has been far more aggressive, which is what we want to see, and his shot is falling. I mean, you're talking 37% usage rate last game against Indiana, easy matchup. We also saw 38.5% usage rate against the Blazers. So you got to think this should be a motivated spot, like a very nice motivated spot for Beal against the Dubs tonight. I'm going to have him in my player pool. I don't know if I'm going to land on him because for me, it's like Jordan Poole on the other side of this game is 7-8, and he's just been far more consistent. The minutes are there. He's taking 25, 20, 20-plus shots a game. His last few games, 50, 52, 46. I mean, Poole's been absolutely lights out, and I love this matchup. So really not sure, like, if I'll get to – like, I'm asking myself, like, how do I play Beal over, like, Jordan Poole? So I gave Jordan Poole a core play tag. I think he's an awesome play tonight. And then the other thing, too, is, like, this game the pace should be nice. We should see points. Clay, what I do with Clay, he's better at home, but, man, he's shot dependent. So I give him a fair projection. If he hits – then so be it. Or I look to try to play him at the small forward position. He's SG and SF. You can play him at either position. I look for the small forward position. But yeah, Wiggins, Dre. I mean, they're all priced up. If they hit my build, then cool. If not, I'm not going to like try to force them in. But Jordan Poole is the guy I like. We should see Denny Avdia slide into the starting lineup. He's 6K though. I don't really like it, so I'm going to be off of him. That's how I'm playing this game.
Yeah, I think using it as a one-off last piece in this game makes sense. I don't think you need to go overboard. People were asking about Avdia, though. I thought the same thing. I looked at the price, and I was like, 6K, man. It's pretty steep for Denny. What are your thoughts on Denny, though, man, going to anything on the Warriors side?
Yeah, listen, I'm a big Denny guy, but it's going to be tough to go to Denny's tonight. So late-night Denny's ain't happening for me, I don't think. Porzingis and Beal, I kind of agree with AP. I think they're like good tournament plays because again, I think they have the ceiling at their price and they're priced up enough where like at that price tag, like they're harder clicks, right? Where I think that's keeping the ownership down, but they still have a ceiling. So I think Porzingis and Beal both in play. A lot of these other pieces, I just don't think I'm going to mix and match on the Washington side. I agree with AP's take. Klay Thompson, small forward position, shooting guard. I think you can get away with it too at 8K. I think he's perfectly fine, but understand his floor could be bad. You could make a case for Draymond at 6'6" and the ceiling he can have, but again, the floor, you can look at that 20-point game. So he's an MME type of play based on the price tag. He does have a ceiling. The guy I do like in this spot is Jordan Poole at 7.8K. I'm not saying he's a play that's going to get overlooked and be like a 5% play, but when news kind of files in, some late night plays they lose ownership. And I could see maybe Poole only being in that like 15 to like 20% range. And it even could get down to 10. And he has a ceiling at 7.8. He's gotten 50 in both his last 2 games. I think he's an interesting option, someone that I'm considering and I like a lot here in this spot. Washington is a team that'll play fast. I also think Washington's offense is good enough to stay and hang in this game, especially the way the Warriors are constructed right now. So I think Jordan Poole's my favorite play here in this game.
I like it. We got 1 game left on the slate. You guys already got the like, so we'll get you the plays of the day. Let's make a push to 400, though. Let's Andrew Martinez with the news. Can you bump Halliburton and Trey with John Collins? News, I assume you're saying. Yeah, I mean, the Halliburton, John Collins, athletic rim protector. They still got some bodies down there, though. So more of a bump to Trey. AP spit out some of the numbers without Collins on the floor. So little bump, little to Halliburton. Definitely bump Trey, though. Last game on the slate, though. Then we'll get you the plays of the day. Let's make a push for 400, though. We appreciate it. We got the Portland Trailblazers. We got the Los Angeles Lakers. 237 total. Portland is favored by 2.5. LeBron is not playing today. Mo Bamba is also not playing the Lakers, who they acquired. Going into the Portland side, Jeremy Grant out. Nurkic still going to be out as well. This game, of all the games that we've talked about recently, I think this is definitely the most interesting. I like targeting a lot of Lakers games. AD without LeBron, big talking point. Dame 11-1, looks solid. Eubanks, little people are talking about. Mangone, I'll throw it to you first.
Yeah, definitely a good game to go to. Damian Lillard, one of the better spends, and we know why, right? Dame pointing at the watch and one of the best matchups against the Lakers. I mean, definitely could be Dame time. The question is, I think the Lakers, they can keep it close, right? Because obviously the Lakers, the Portland Trailblazers don't play a lot of defense. And the Portland Trailblazers have been reconstructed, right? They made some trades. They moved around some guys. Anthony Davis at 10-6. You could consider him here in this spot. I'm probably not going to get there as much, but I understand it. Hachimura, Vanderbilt. I think Vanderbilt at 4-2. You could make a case for him. The problem is the minutes, right? The minutes were only 17 last time. And he got 30, but that is going to hurt his floor a little bit. He has to produce in the time that he's out there. I do think some of these guys you can consider, like Malik Beasley. He did only play 16 minutes the other game, but if the shot was falling against Golden State, and he shot 0 for 6 from 3 in that game, what if it was 4 for 4 when he was in there, right? Well, wouldn't he have played himself into some time? I think that's interesting. I think it's more of a tournament play, maybe more for the night slate, but you could consider it at that 4.3K tag if he gets hot. I will be on the playback tonight at 9 o'clock. We'll be talking about the late night slate, so we'll mention guys like him later on. So if you want to come hang out with us, jump on playback. It'll be a lot of fun. The Portland side, there are some plays here I want to kind of break down a little bit. Like I said, Damian Lillard, really, really strong play. Eubanks, you could make a case for. My problem is I think there's other center options I prefer. And with Anthony Davis down low, I think it's a little concerning. Nasir Little is one of those filler value plays that you can get in there. I don't hate it. I do think it's a really, really good spot for someone like Anthony Simons, right? Shadon Sharp will get some run to it. 3.4K is an interesting shooting guard that you could play as a value. But Anthony Simons at 6'8", the dude has the ceiling to get you like 50 DK points. And he's an interesting leverage off of Dame. If you're not playing Damian Lillard and Anthony Simons goes out and has a big game, we saw it kind of recently. I forget which game it was, but Damian Lillard was chalk against Washington. And what happened? Anthony Simons dropped 55, and Dame, he got like a little under 50, I think he ended up with. And he may have like snuck his way to get close to making that value. But point being is, Dame, he got 43 in that game. So 42.25. He didn't hit value, and Anthony Simons got the job done. If there's a matchup where Anthony Simons could get hot, it could definitely be this one. And typically Dame, he takes over when he needs to. If Anthony Simons is hot, he's going to defer to him and let him keep shooting. He'll shoot over a lot of those, smaller guards. I'm not worried about it. I think Anthony Simons at 6'8" is an amazing tournament play that you should be considering for sure here. So overall, great game. Damian Lillard, awesome spend. Lakers, tougher to roster some of those guys, maybe some of those cheap fillers. But I think Damian Lillard, amazing play. I think a value play that you should consider is Shadon Sharp. And I think Anthony Simons, a really good mid-tier option that you can't ignore here.
Yeah, great breakdown there, AP. Lots to talk about. Any interest in the new guys? Some people in here talking Cam Reddish, min price 3K. D-Russ played about 35 minutes. Eubanks, Dame, a lot of things. No, LeBron playing, AD. Break down this one before we get the plays of the day to the people.
Yeah, so kind of, just going off what Mangone said, really good breakdown. I think so. Like, I'm really high on Dame, obviously 11-1. I mean, the price tag's up there. He does need a big number to kill you, but it's Dame Lillard. He's got all the upside in the world. We've seen him absolutely nuke slate. So I'm going to have some exposure. I think Shadon Sharp is somewhat interesting, but I think with Grant out, the most interesting play is Jabari Walker. So I liked his rotation in the first half. He checked in, played good minutes, and then in the second half, he got into foul trouble right away, 2-3 quick fouls. So we didn't get a full run out of him. It looked like he was going to play. It looked like he was going to play 20, 18-ish, 19 minutes. So with Grant out, that frees up more run in the rotation there. So, and his usage was insane when he's on the court. Insane, like 26, 27, 35. So he can get it done in the second unit there. Risky play for sure. It might be too thin of a play, but again, targeting. We got that $4 tonight. If you want to win that 100K, you got to think outside the box a little bit. That's a play that I would look at if you need the value. Cam Reddish. It's hard to trust the rotation there. So we will see on that. I think Dame Lillard, the safest play, and then we want the starting lineup as well. And then obviously Eubanks. AD's been struggling, man. Very, very struggling right now from the field. He's going to nuke one of these games. I'm going to have some exposure. I think he gets kind of lost in the mix with how elite the center spot is tonight. So the other two things, Schroeder, I think he's somewhat interesting. And then even, again, a deep tournament play, but D'Angelo Russell. I just think the pace is going to be awesome. Not going to be a lot of defense in this game. You can make the argument to play a lot of these guys.
Yeah, great breakdown there. I agree. I think that last game of the 4 or 5 latest games we talked about, this Lakers-Portland, you can make a case on both sides. But we got 3 minutes, so we got to get up for the Up to Lock show. So we're getting into the plays of the day. You guys got the likes home for us. Mangone will get the graphics. I'll start with myself first with the SO play of the day. I am going to the flow chart. Always easy going to the flow chart when you're debating a couple pieces. Also going to Wisconsin, a little bit up the road, Oshkosh. Guy, Tyrese Halliburton. Love the spot for him. See very little ownership at 5%. Think it's a very easy way to get different. Utah, a lot of good plays there. Play Tyrese on the other side. And I love picking on Utah. So Tyrese Halliburton, the SO play of the day. We'll go over to AP, the gentleman's call of the day. Who do you got for us, AP?
Yeah, so, the John Collins news kind of confirmed it for me, but I'm going with Trae Young. The thing that I'm most impressed about with Trae Young right now is the amount of assists he's creating. It's insane. 17, 12, 16 his last 3 games. 17 dimes against the Spurs, just absolutely insane. So the ball, he's running the offense. DeJounte Murray is definitely taking a back seat. Trae Young, 9-7. Absolutely love that spot for him.
Love it. Trae Young, the gentleman's call of the day. I got the graphic for Sweet Travis with JT and those marshmallows. Sweet Travis, Mango, what you got? Play of the day.
Yeah, it was nice. The other day, the Aaron Gordon play hit, so that was awesome. Was excited about that, but helped me win a lot of money. Hopefully helped you guys. We need to have a banger here, right? We need to have another good one. I'm going with a really cheap guy. Same game as you, Title. If you look at the flow chart, sometimes this is a great way to use it, right? You could be like, well, Aaron Nesmith's on the flow chart, but you know who else kind of has a good matchup like Aaron Nesmith? Benedict Mathurin, right? Fit that small forward spot that, again, I struggle with forwards this year. I normally don't love playing them. And I think he's going to be kind of lowish owned. You'll get him in that below 10% or around that range. And he has a ton of upside to play 30 minutes. And let's say they want to go a little bit smaller. He could easily be in that closing lineup. So I'll give me Benedict Mathurin as my play of the day.
Big Benedict, love Eggs Benedict. He's gonna get the job done. Not at Denny's though. No, not Eggs Benedict at Denny's later. Mangone's gonna go to a better spot. If Tyrese is out, someone said what Tyrese isn't for sure in yet. No, if he's out, find the money, get up to AP. The gentleman's call today. Play some Trae Young, but I think Tyrese is gonna play. That's gonna do it for us though. Right on time. Mangone 15 gets you 15% off. Head to Run Pure Sports. Get in the live show chat. We got JSU, K-Phallic, DC bringing you up to lock. News is going to hit. That's going to do it, though. Appreciate it. Like, subscribe on the way out. For Mangone, AP, I'm Titletown. Good luck, everybody.